So, what if I told you that there was a prison so feared that escaping the walls was actually easier than escaping the mountains around it? A prison that housed James Earl Ray, witnessed brutal murders, and inspired one of the world's toughest races, and today may be one of America's most haunted locations. So, think on that. And while you're thinking, we are going to, of course, give the disclaimer because we can't do anything without a disclaimer. So, we are going to be talking about historical crimes, prison violence, murders, and alleged paranormal events. Some stories are based on historical records, but the paranormal claims are, of course, on reported experiences and have not been able to be verified. So, listener discretion is advised. So, welcome, seekers, back to the haunting truth. This is Woo, and with me, as always, is Jailbreak Jen, because
Well, yes, absolutely.
no one is keeping her from her freedom. And today we are heading into the rugged mountains of East Tennessee to
Oh,
explore one of America's most notorious prisons, Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary.
I love Eastern Tennessee, I have to say.
It's so nice. I'm going to tell you how we got there and how I came to this. So it came to my attention earlier this year. We went on a trip to Windrock Park. So if you've never been to Windrock Park, it's located in Oliver Springs, Tennessee, which is about 20 minutes from Knoxville, a little bit north, and it is the largest privately owned off-road ATV park in the country.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
it's very awesome. So you can rent cabins there. They have country music festivals there. They have a shooting range there. I went and shot 50 cows while I was out there. The first time, you can explore to your heart's content on the mountains and the trails that are out there. I took the kids there when they were younger, probably like I want to say 8 and 10, 9 and 11, maybe something like that. And this year, that's what my youngest wanted to do for our family trip. We wanted to do a trip to Tennessee. So we spent the first half in Nashville. The middle half, we went into Windrock Park and we stayed there and did some ATV riding. And then the last half, we went to Helen, Georgia. But it was very good. But on these trail parks in Windrock, you have like the safe, like gravel, kind of like up and down, like the very obvious trailed ones to the, oh my God, we're going to die. Why are you going on this trail? Sections, right?
I like those ones.
It's wild. Like you're like half up. Like I have. It's okay. Yeah. The older I get, the worse it is. For that. So this time we went in March, and it was freezing, and in fact it snowed. So we got up that morning, and of course, I'm from Florida, so I don't own any winter clothes anymore. So all I had was a hoodie. So we're driving around, and I actually like had to go into the store and buy another hoodie to put on top of my hoodie and like a neck thing, like to protect against the snow and ice and all of that. But in there, they have a trail map. So I picked it up and I'm looking at this trail map and I noticed that one of the trails goes to Brushy Mountain Prison. So I'm like, what is this? I've never heard of Brushy Mountain Prison, but if I can go to a prison on an ATV through these back
Why
trails,
not?
I, of course, want to go. So it
Right.
caught my interest, and hubby, of course, is like, anything that makes you happy, babe, just tell me what trail we're going on, and that's where we go. So we tried to hit the trails. He was driving, I'm navigating, and of course, we didn't find it because we got lost and our day went out. But the next day, we're leaving our Airbnb and I had it in my head and I was like, I'm going to go to this prison. So I looked it up on the map and we ended up driving there in the truck. And it was literally only like 15 minutes from our Airbnb.
You're like
So
convenient.
it was very convenient. And it was as spooky as I had imagined. It was like broken down old cell blocks, razor wire galore. But surprisingly, it has a distillery and a restaurant on there. So they've turned it into a museum, restaurant slash distillery slash frozen in time. Come check it out. And it was beautiful. Like I went, it was early morning, so there wasn't anybody there, of course, but the gates were open enough that we could go in and park and like kind of drive. We couldn't get into the prison itself, but we could poke around the grounds. And the old block, we were able to take some really good pictures of, and I'll post some of those as we go through. And the distillery wasn't open. I'm going to get ourselves in trouble. But the door was open, so I went and checked it out. So we kind of went in and like kind of toured around. Probably we shouldn't have, but we were trespassing. But we did take some good pictures. Um, so fascinating place. It was really fascinating. And I wanted to hear the history of that. And what kind of led into it is too, like I mentioned the trails that were on there. My youngest and his girlfriend were on their ATVs and they swear up and down that they heard a woman screaming on one of the trails while they were out there by themselves. Now it's middle of March. There's not a whole lot of traffic on the mountain. There's a few things, but not a whole lot. Um, so I got to wondering, like, are these screams coming from Brushy Mountain? Uh, Spoiler alert. I think they were, it was either that or it was his girlfriend screaming because he was on one of those aforementioned, oh my God, we're going to die trails and he wasn't paying attention to her.
And
So,
also, is it, I was going to ask if it is a rocky ledge because it's also March and there are cougars.
so I did not see any cougars, but there was definitely ice and I mean, they should because it is up there and there is wildlife like,
Hmm.
and
Because
it's
that's what
very,
I was always told cougars can come sometimes sound like somebody screaming.
it's possible. It's really
So,
good. It's a good thought. I like Windrock because they are safe and they're well, like they have people that patrol and they've got, like I said, they've got some really nice mentioned trails, but they're also not the ones that are going to stop you from having fun. You can go and explore and do whatever feels
yeah.
good to you, right? So,
Good to you.
uh,
I like how
so
you put that. Feels good to you.
so when we picked up the one ATV, he's like, "So you get stuck, just give us a call and we'll come find you sometime today."
Sometime. I like how it added in sometime today.
Yeah,
We will
he's like,
find you
"You'll
at
be
some
fine.
point in time.
Make sure you have
Not
water
like
and something
it's,
to keep you warm."
yeah, it's like make sure basically you have your own survival kit, bring water and snackies just in case you get stranded, and we'll eventually come for you.
Yes. So in the ATV, while I was not, this goes to show how idiotic I am, not comfortably prepared for the weather. However, I had a
Mhm.
whole cooler full of water and food and drinks and all kinds of stuff, so I don't starve to death on the mountain. And I'm holding it as we're doing the ATV because it was sliding all over the back. Anyway, fun
I
times.
mean,
I love it.
we know that I'm a person that has a cooler in the back
I
of
was
their
gonna
car
say
at all
you'd have been very
times.
proud. I didn't have the big cooler. I had like a little cooler, but I had some stuff that was in there, but no blanket or gloves. So
or,
yeah,
or anything. Okay,
or anything that
it's
would
okay.
really actually serve a purpose other than the water and the food. But it was a good time. I highly recommend it. We're gonna go back again with everybody. So long story on how we got to Brushy Mountain Penitentiary because I'd never heard of it before I hit Windrock, and you mentioned that you've heard of it, but
Right.
do you know anything about it at all?
I really don't. I know
Okay.
the area
hmm
that you're talking about. Like as I said, I love Eastern Tennessee. I
hmm
go to like everybody goes to like Gatlinburg and
Yeah.
Sevierville, but we go
hmm
like out a little bit further and
Yeah.
we go on to like Lake Douglas and we do more of the
Yeah.
non-touristy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I would say. And also, I know shout out to my friends who I think listen that are in Bluff City now. So we miss you and we
We
love
know who
you.
you
And I will be,
are.
yeah,
You
we'll
better
be
be
coming to
following.
visit you soon. So
Yeah, so you should take them
hopefully,
to Brushy Mountain if they're close enough.
yeah,
You
yeah,
should go
that would
check
be
it out.
awesome.
You should go check it out. It's yeah. All right, so we'll go into it a little bit more. But this is another one that, like, with as much as we're fascinated by prisons, it's not one that I'd ever heard of before this. It's kind of like off the radar, but it was known as the end of the line, and it was operated for more than a century. And it was home to murderers, gang leaders, escape artists, and one of the most infamous criminals in American history, which I mentioned earlier, James Earl Ray. That's where he stayed. But this story is much bigger than just the lock cells and the razor wire. It begins with a controversial labor system, and it includes daring escapes and gruesome murders, and a legendary race that is inspired by an inmate's failed getaway. And it
Oh,
perhaps even has ghosts that still roam its corridors. So let's step inside so I can tell you about it. So, Brushy Mountain was born out of conflict, and this was a war that wasn't waged on battlefields, but in the cold, dark hollows of Tennessee. So, in the late 1800s, the state had embraced a cruel arithmetic, convict leasing. I don't know if you've
Oh,
heard about this before, but
I
men,
have heard about this.
okay, so
Yeah.
this is what happened. So men behind bars were rented out like tools, sent into private mines where their lives were measured in profit margins and production quotas. They were cheap, they were expendable, and the miners who then relied on the honest wages from working were pushed out because now we had these cheap convicts doing the work that they used to be doing. And it ended up rising up into a war called the Coal Creek War. And this forced Tennessee to really confront what it had created with the convict leasing. And then when the smoke cleared, the state retreated from the private leasing, but decided to do something new. They decided to build a prison that would mine its own coal with its
I was
own
about to
convicts
say.
under its own watchful eyes. So yeah, we're not
Yeah.
going to deal with all that. We're just gonna hold it, build it on
We're
our
not
own.
going to put the honest man out. We're just going to actually mine our own coal
We're
and
gonna do
yeah.
our own thing. So that's what they
Yeah.
ended up doing. So in 1896, Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary opened the gates, and it wasn't a prison. It was more of a labor camp that was carved into the wilderness. And this is where men descended into the earth each day, swallowed by darkness deeper than any cell block. And the mountains that survived, that surrounded it, were more than scenery. They were sentinels, right? They watched over everything. And even if a man happened to slip past the guard and scale the walls of the prison, he would find himself in a labyrinth of rock and forest that cared nothing for his desperation. And this is why they call this the end of the line, because even if you escaped, you were not escaping. This prison was not meant to hold people, it was meant to erase them from the face of the earth and just put them to work. So, this is where the legend begins. So, inside the stone walls of Brushy, life just moved according to what we have known historically for prisons. It was both brutal and strangely intimate. Men woke to the clang of metal, the smell of coal dust, and to the knowledge that the day ahead belonged not to them, but to the mountain and the authorities. It ruled it and where he was staying. And in this, you know, i- we had some of the biggest gang leaders and murderers with sentences that were so long, it stretched into eternity. And they arrived knowing that they were not going to escape, that they were going to end their lives there. Hence, they called it end of the line. Conditions were harsh, of course, almost biblical in their severity. Cells were overcrowded with bodies. The mines were horrific, and the rules were enforced with a cold precision that really left no room for softness. And so, violence was not an exception. It became the language. You had shanks carved from scrap metal and fights over food and hurt pride and sometimes nothing at all, just to have something to do to break up the day. Um, and every hallway carried the echo of something that was something that happened there once that was sometimes bloody and sometimes unforgettable. In fact, if you go to the Brushy Mountain Museum today, they have a whole cabinet of shanks that they have
Well, they could have had
recouped over the
access.
years so you
Yeah.
could go see what's going on.
But I
Yeah.
mean, they had access to so many tools and weapons down in the mines, and it was
Well,
probably really hard for any of, the guards to be able to actually see them a lot of times. This is the late 1800s.
hmm
Like they used canary and lanterns.
yes. But you'll be surprised, I think, because I was surprised. This prison lasted for more than a century. It didn't close until 2009.
What? Were they mining
Yes.
at that time?
I don't know if they were mining the whole time, but it was open until 2009.
Oh.
Yeah, it that's a little nuts
I mean,
for
did
me.
they renovate it? I mean,
So
I'm
I
just
the
saying, I mean, the asbestos alone is
I mean,
not a
if
good
you
look.
look through the pictures, I know when I looked outside, the distillery is obviously renovated, and the restaurant, they do have a restaurant called the Warden Stable, is renovated, and the museum part is renovated. But there is a whole like line of bunkers of old cells that are as they were back then. The
Yeah.
walls are falling apart, it's all chipped and gross, and we didn't get into the main prison, but it doesn't look much better. Um, Yeah, I don't
The
know how much
smell of
money they were.
desperation and asbestos paint still lingers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I talked briefly about the inmates that were there. And the
Mhm.
most infamous was James Earl Ray, who of course was the man convicted of assassinating Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Um, but he wasn't alone. So there was another one in there that I had actually never heard of, and I had to look him up. His name was Paul Dennis Reid, otherwise known as the fast food killer. Have you ever heard of him? I'd never heard of him before.
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure why. I'm
Okay,
gonna be honest. Like
that's
I've
fine. I
heard
didn't. I had to
the
look him up.
name.
So he was a spree killer in Tennessee. He hit in Nashville and he had killed 7 victims across 3 different fast food restaurants across like 2 months between February and April of 97. And what attracted me is he hit McDonald's, of course, because McDonald's is everywhere.
Yeah.
Then they hit
Yeah.
Baskin Robbins. But what really hit to me was he hit Captain D's, which, if anybody knows me, my hubby, who was my boyfriend then, that was his first job and
Yeah,
where
I
he
was
was
about to
working
say.
when we first started dating. So the smell of Captain D's is like old, uh,
It
good
is like
times
your
to
love
me.
language.
It's my
It's your
fried
love
fish.
language.
I want old fried fish
The
in my
smell of
thing.
fried fish and just,
Just
it
take me back.
takes you.
Just take me back. But yeah, they took them in the freezer and killed a couple employees. And that was actually happened in like 97. So I had started seeing my husband 5 years before that. So it was like around the same time frame. Had he been in Tennessee, he might have been there. But Paul Dennis Reed was sentenced to death in September 99, which was shortly after I got married, and was shipped off to Brushy. It's kind of like it freaks me out how recent it is, like to that.
Well, and also, like, did he actually? Cause you know how it is. People are in death row for years
hmm
and years. Did they actually, flip the switch?
So I don't know if they did for him or not. However, Old Sparky did
Yes.
do a stint in Brushy, so it was there. But when I when I dug into it, they didn't actually do any executions in Brushy Mountain. There was another prison in Nashville that had Old Sparky where they were doing executions, but they renovated that prison. And while they were renovating, they moved Old Sparky over to Brushy for a short period of time, just in case they had to do an execution while they were under renovations over there, and then they shipped it back.
Okay.
So it was there and lent
So they
its
were
own kind of
lending
dark
old
energy to
Sparky
it.
back and forth
Yes, before they put it back. There
as
was
a
actually no
transient
executions there.
chair
It was,
haunting.
yeah, it was. I mean, it's not to say there weren't deaths and murders at Brushy, but not legally sanctioned deaths and murders at Brushy Mountain. So,
Yeah. I was about to
yeah,
say, I was like, I know that, execution was legal. It's still legal, but between Sparky or they also, I know people don't like this word, but hangings, I know, still went on well into the 80s and 90s, I believe,
yeah.
for some states.
I
So
think, I think,
unfortunately.
yeah, I think Newcastle was out there for a recent one too, right? Like it was.
Delaware was actually one of the last hangings in the United States.
That's what I
And it
thought.
was
I'm pretty
because the
sure.
inmate requested it. Let's be clear here. He
Okay.
requested it. So,
Okay. Well, there's a few. I think there was a couple that had like requested firing squads and
yeah.
whatnot over the years, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's where it was. So I'm going to tell you real quick. So by the summer of 77, Brushy Mountain had earned its reputation as a place where hope went to die. But on
Ooh.
June 10th, something stirred, and Mr. James Earl Ray heard the call and decided that he was done with this prison and he was going to slip its grasp. So that day, along with a couple other inmates, he made an escape. And it sent officers scrambling through the mountains with radios and rifles. And there are photographs today of that escape where men were lined across the ridge lines, helicopters going to try and find him. And Ray and the other inmates went into Frozen Head State Park, where I have some pictures in there. It's not that hospitable. Um, and as we talked about, the mountains were very old and very unforgiving. So he wandered this dense underbrush for 54 hours. and he had only made it 8.5 miles.
Oh, that is a not a good time.
That is not a good time before he gave up due to exhaustion, hunger, and the realization that it wasn't Brushy that was holding him in. It was these mountains. Um,
Yeah,
the escape became legend not because it succeeded, but because it proved what the inmates already knew. You weren't getting out.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so that actually gave rise to something very, very interesting. And this is the marathon that I was talking about. So there is what's known as the Barkley Marathons, and it is one of the most punishing endurance races on Earth. It's
Oh,
held in the same mountains. They follow James Earl Ray's track to see if they can do it. And in the 36-year history that it's been in place, only
mhm.
20 people have finished it. 20. And these were people that
Does
geared up for this specifically.
does he and it doesn't take him 55 hours to go 8 miles?
I I I don't know.
But
It's
it's
to
I mean,
get
look,
through
this
it.
place is extreme, and I think James Earl Ray, if I memory serves me right, I'm pretty sure that he's either from Alabama or Mississippi, and he
Mhm.
is not a mountain boy, so he
Mm-mm.
doesn't have any idea how to traverse that kind of terrain.
No.
So
But
you
these
learn the
guys are
hard way when it comes
training
to
for it.
mountains.
These are the people training for it.
Yeah.
36 years. You've had 20 people that have actually been able to finish. But, it's not fair because not everybody can be like, super marathon runners. So they do a gentler version that's called the
Mhm.
Escape from Brushy. It's a 5K. And it goes through the tunnels and stuff underneath the prison, and the prison
Oh,
actually
okay.
hosts that. So if you really want to do it, you could say
Yeah.
that you did it.
Yeah. No, not signing up for that. I'm good. But thanks.
Uh, so let's ponder for a minute if we're going to contemplate maybe doing this, and then we'll take a break, and then I'll come back and I'll finish telling you about the legends and ghosts that haunt Brushy still.
Awesome. Thank you so
All
much.
right,
We'll see you
you're welcome.
then.
All right, bye. So Brushy, as we talked about, was built on labor and punishment. And death was a fact of life there. You had inmates that died in the prisons, swallowed up in the coal mines. You had ones that just died silently, due to exhaustion and age and the erosion of hope, knowing that you're not going to get out there. And then there were other ones that passed away due to sudden violence, as is common in prisons. Um, and this long memory of the prison is just crowded with names that never made the headlines, but their names are not in official documents, but they're captured in the silence of the cell blocks, in the names that are carved into the walls, which you can still see today, and in the places where the light doesn't quite reach. Um, but in that darkness, there was one beacon of light that I wanted to highlight. So, in this one, there was an artist that was there, and he was commissioned to do 25 murals during his stint in Brushy from 96 to 99. And they're beautiful. And I'll put some pictures up there. But he did these large scale murals um, across the prison, and he's supposed to go back and touch them up over time. They're like the one thing, like you mentioned, like everything is like falling down. It's asbestos, the walls are giving
Yeah.
way, and all of those kind of things. But the mural itself, they have contracted to keep up to date and keep it live. And that artist is Tim Cross, and he was incarcerated there from 96 to 99, as I mentioned.
Oh, can I
He,
guess?
go
Can
ahead.
I guess what he was in for?
Yeah, you can guess. I have no idea.
Oh, I was gonna say marijuana.
I mean, it very well might be because I tried to look to why he was in there, and it's there's no records to be found. However, he does have a Facebook page where you can look, and I'm going to link it in the notes, and you can go see in his art. And he wrote a book that's called Convicted: A Criminal Memoir. A former Brushy Mountain Prison inmate and artist paints a self-portrait through his life stories, and he tells you all about his time that was there and what led him there and kind of what he's doing with his life after he got out. I haven't read it yet. I am going to read it. I don't know why, but I don't know why he was actually in there. It kind
We'll
of
get back to
intimates.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of intimates that it was his upbringing and he was in some wrong crowds, and it very well might be marijuana. I don't know. I would hope that marijuana doesn't put you to the end of the line for 3 years, because that seems a little bit excessive to me.
I mean, I
But
just remember back in the day, like having any kind of illegal drugs, you could go away for 5 to 10 years,
yeah,
especially during that time frame. So depending upon how much you had, it was pretty strict in a lot of Appalachia, like West Virginia, Tennessee, those states.
I wouldn't doubt it at all. So any listeners out there, if you know or you have a guess, maybe we'll put a poll up. We'll see if anybody
Yeah.
reads this book.
Can we put a
Come back and
poll
tell
up
us
of
why
what
he
we think
was
he
in
got
there.
convicted of?
Yes, absolutely. But I highlight that because it's just a reminder that even in these darkest of places, there's always,
Hope.
some kind of light. There's some kind of brightness, and someone that once tried to leave a reminder that not everything is born of violence. Um, so, this is a gentle ghost from Brushy Mountain. And we'll talk about some more ghosts that are in Brushy Mountain. So today, actually, the prison is one of Tennessee's most sought after paranormal destinations. So if you go into YouTube and you pull up Brushy Mountain, everywhere, they're everywhere. Everywhere. I think I watched like three or four. Some are super, super hokey. You can tell that they're just okay.
Not real.
Yeah, fine. Okay. But there are some that kind of, at the very least, it gives you the walkthrough of the prison itself. It goes through at night. You can go in and you can see like the cell block D and the whole, their solitary confinement, which was horrific. It is a very small, completely dark cell. There's no windows. It's horrendous. But it has been
Was it
out
as bad
there.
as Eastern State?
No, I don't think it was as bad as Eastern State, because Eastern State was like underground
It was
almost.
literally they lifted up
Yeah,
a hole in the ground with
yeah.
just a door on top of it, and you were in a hole.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was as bad as that, but it wasn't that far off. It wasn't underground, but it was a very small door shut
Oh, yeah.
kind of thing. No,
No,
complete
I'm
darkness.
good.
Like there was nothing in there. But like I said, it's been on multiple YouTube channels. It's been on television shows. We have some late night paranormal live streams. And there have been some common ghosts that have been picked up from all of these different sources. So the first one that comes up is the cigarette ghost. And this is a male apparition that is seen kind of leaning in doorways and hallways, and he is accompanied by the strong smell of cigarette smoke. And people report seeing a lit ember just kind of floating in the dark. And it is most commonly found in D Block, which is it wasn't death row, but that was the solitary confinement, like the 23-hour away from everybody else, the yard entrance, and the cafeteria hallway. And then you have the man in the hole, which we've talked about, solitary confinement. And this is a
Hmm.
shadow figure that's pacing inside or just outside of the old solitary cells. Those are the ones that I saw, and I'll post pictures of that. They're kind of in their own section over there. Heavy footsteps, breathing, and sudden cold spots of common, of course. And some investigators have claimed that he rushes the doorway when he's provoked. So I don't know. I might want to stay away from that one. The cafeteria shadow figure. So this tall, dark silhouette, tall, dark, handsome man, seen standing near the serving line or slipping behind the kitchen doorway, often accompanied by the sound of trays clattering or chairs scraping. And I do want to say here, in some of the YouTube videos that I watched on this one, the cafeteria was a hot spot. There's a lot of
Okay.
there's a lot of things that we saw where chairs move. You could hear them scraping across the floor. I had heard a story where apparently there was a death in the cafeteria and there was a blood stain on the floor. And around there, there's a lot of activity and those kind of things. So haven't been able to validate it myself, but I think the cafeteria is a big one.
Yeah.
Um,
Which makes sense. It's one of the only places they can congregate together.
Yes, and typically if you're going to get shanked, it's usually in the showers or in the cafeteria, because
Yeah.
that's where you're, or the yard. I guess those are the three areas. But yeah, that's what we had heard, that there was actually a murder of someone there in the cafeteria, and that's where the chairs like around that spot is seen moving. And then we have the hospital nurse who is seen near the old infirmary. And they hear footsteps, kind of hand on the shoulder, smell of antiseptic. And she's one of the calmer spirits that's around there. She's probably still trying to heal people. And then we have the inmate in stripes, which is a ghost. He's wearing the black and white prison stripes, which you can see in my background back there. I tried to get
Oh, I
everything
see that. Yeah.
there. He's
Kind
often
of
seen,
standard uniform back in the day.
yeah, back in the day, often and seen in the yard, the laundry area, or somewhat near the old industrial spaces. And some report him as kind of confused and wandering. And this isn't the cigarette ghost. He's a separate apparition. And then in the cell block, you hear voices, right? So it's not a single ghost, but it is multiples where you hear whispers and muttering and full conversations. Um, and then you have the residual haunting, which we've talked about quite a bit in the James Earl Ray cell. So this is the imprint near his former cell in the area where he was stabbed. So James Earl Ray, which I don't even know if you know this or not, he was actually stabbed and swarmed and stabbed by the inmates in Brushy Mountain Prison, and he was stabbed 27 times. He
Wow. No, I
survived.
did not
Yeah,
know.
he was they attacked him. He was 27 times. He did survive. They did move him out to a prison in Nashville, so that's where he ended up finishing out his term. He didn't finish it in Brushy. When I say finish out his term, he passed away. But
Yeah.
yeah, but this is apparently where his apparition is seen as around where this stabbing happened. And people say that they feel nausea and pressure and a sense of being watched. And this is one that some of the brushy guides, the paranormal guides, mention this one probably most frequently.
So maybe it's residual.
That's what it's supposed to be, is a residual haunting of that, just kind of like
Okay.
this energy imprint and this,
Yeah.
this replay of what happened there, which I would imagine would have been terrifying,
Oh,
getting
yeah.
rushed by a bunch of people and stabbed
Horrific,
that
and the
many
energy is
times.
just trapped in
Yeah.
like that scene just plays over and over in time.
hmm And then we have the yard walker, which is a figure that is often seen crossing the yard at night, and he vanishes mid-stride, but you can hear the gravel crunching underneath his feet. And then, of course, you can't have all these inmates without a guard. So you have the guard that's on patrol, and he is typically seen in the tunnels and the hallways. And, here you're going to hear jangling keys, boot steps, and may see a random flashlight beam flashing or not. So whether you believe or not, the atmosphere itself is its own kind of haunting. It is, these, I think I mentioned earlier, I don't feel uncomfortable with ghosts. I like the whole ghost aspect of things. Asylums and prisons freak me out.
I'm I'm not a big asylum person. I think
Mm-mm.
everybody is kind of aware of that. So I've been to
Yeah.
quite a few of like Eastern State and quite a few prisons and forts and
Yep.
stuff like that. I don't think I've ever gone to an asylum,
hmm
just because I feel like
I don't
I feel
know.
so bad for what happened to the people there that there is probably horrific energy trapped
Yeah.
there. And it's probably very confusing. And I would have never wanted to be in that situation either. And plus, a lot of sane people died in
Yes.
asylums as well because people were convinced that they were not sane, even though they tried to plead their case. So that's, I think, what makes me so uncomfortable is people who could not get out.
I agree with you. I would go to a prison over an asylum, and I'm very uncomfortable with the thought of it.
It's just the lack
I
of
don't know.
freedom. I think that's what makes everybody so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of what you just said, right? I think there was a lot of people that were condemned there, for lack of a better word, that didn't deserve to be there. And then the
And just think there
situations
was no DNA or anything back
were
in the
horrific.
1800s. And there were so many people falsely accused of things that they
Yeah,
just lived out their term and they had, there's nothing they could do about it.
yeah. I don't know. I'll pass. I'll pass on the
Yeah.
asylums. But prisons, I'll go check
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
they're a little bit up there. So whether you believe or not, I think Brushy Mountain will make you believe in something. And if it's not the ghost, it is will at the very least, be that history doesn't stay quiet. So you can visit Brushy Mountain today, as I just said. We went to the gates and all that, and it may have closed its gate in 2009, but it is still alive today. So I said it's a museum, it's a distillery, it's a restaurant. If you want to go check out the history, you can do it. The mountains are still the same all around, but you can walk through and you can visit. So the address is 9182 Highway 116, and you will go through the same landscape that the prisoners once trapped. As a matter of fact, when you go in, they have an old bus that they used to translate, they used to transport the prisoners on to get to and
Uh-huh.
from there. And it is literally painted with end of the line on its as its name, the end of the line.
Oh, that's so
Yes.
sad. Imagine pulling up to a bus after you're going from the jail, which is usually pretty standard, to the prison, where it's like, all
Hmm.
right, you're convicted, and the bus says end of the line.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. The tour itself sounds actually kind of neat. It sounds similar to what I did in Alcatraz, where you get like your own little audio and you go at your own pace and you can listen, stop at the different
Hmm.
stations and hear different things. And this one has 25 different stations that you stop at, which is voiced by a former inmate. So you can hear
Oh,
what they're talking about that, and they'll give you a little bit of their memory. And the gates are open daily during the summer. Last entrance is at 5, but it doesn't close until 6:30. If you want to do the paranormal tours, they do those. They are after hours, and you can check them out too. And I'll do some links in
and Eastern
there.
State is very similar as well. So, which
Yeah,
is,
yeah. So these ones, the tours, the paranormal tours, go till like 2 in the morning.
oh,
And then they have a couple that go till 4 if you like you really want to stay overnight.
if you want to
Um,
almost stay overnight, I'm gonna pass on that one.
yes, I don't think I would be that brave
Yeah.
um to do that. But
I don't want
it's an
the
interesting
real
experience.
experience of sleeping in a prison. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't want that. I have heard that when I looked at the Google reviews that the distillery is very, very good. There is recommendations for the moonshine and line moonshine. And apparently the food is also really, really good if you want to go check it out. So I think next time I go, I'm going to build a day around visiting and going to see the museum and things. Because I've been on the outside, I want to go see the inside. Um, so what is the haunting truth? And for me, this is that this Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary is more than a relic. It is a crossroads. And I think we have probably lost sight of the coal mining aspect of it, which is
Yeah.
amazing to me. Like the fact it's not amazing. I completely understand it,
I
but
know yeah.
like the fact
It's
that we
just
just like
it's
leased
flabbergasted
convicts to,
that the state could
yes,
actually do this. Yes.
flabbergasted is the right word. That's the word that I was looking for because that is what gave rise to this, and that's where we send people. We sent, and we probably didn't send them there for like a whole heck of a lot of reasons. I mean, maybe we did, but I'm gonna guess it's free labor, for the state, really, um, that happened with that. But there you will still find the ghosts of the coal miners and the convicts. You'll see the echo of James Earl Ray, and I find it fascinating that was the spark of inspiration for one of the world's hardest races there in Tennessee, which I'd never heard of before. So I'm gonna do a little bit more research into that. So maybe that's why it's so popular today. Some people arrive searching for history, and some arrive trying to check out for the spirits, literally and figuratively. And some just simply come to stand at the end of the line and kind of feel that weight of the mountains around them and what people before them happen to face. If you go on and you do any kind of like Reddit search or look at the YouTubes, you will find a lot of people that are in there with a comment saying that they had family there that they went and visited because it's still very recent, right? There's still a lot of people that
Yeah.
are alive today that they went and saw and visited their friends and family there. So very, very interesting tweak. So I have talked a lot. So Jed, any thoughts, concerns, or what is the haunting truth for you?
I feel like the haunting truth and the sadness about Brushy Mountain is the fact that even after the inmates died, they were probably never free
Mm-mm. Nope.
because they ended up still lingering there no matter what. And I think that's what the scariest thing for anybody is is
Hmm.
getting your freedom taken away. And the
Yeah,
fact that not only was your freedom taken away, but you were then forced into into a confined space with very little safety measures where you were probably gonna, it was a living hell.
it was. And I didn't mention, too, that there is a chapel on site, and they did, of course, have to bury the prisoners who died there on site,
Yeah.
but they've removed all the headstones. So the bodies are still there, but they're not marked anymore.
So there's no headstones.
Mm-mm.
So you really don't know where these prisoners are buried.
There's a general sense of the area. They're over there somewhere, but yeah, they put them
That's
in a
even
coffin.
worse.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like you were buried, but not in consecrated ground, and also now you're forgotten.
yeah. So when you said never really free,
Yeah,
yeah, that tracks with
that's
that.
so sad. Like
Yeah, and
I just can't even imagine.
yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, so that is Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. So please go check them out and remember the people that were there. And until next week, we want to say that this is The Haunting Truth, and we want to thank you for joining us on our trip to Tennessee, and to the end of the line. And until next week, listen closely, as you might just hear what the walls would say if they could talk. And if you visited there, if you know somebody who's there, drop a line because we'd love to hear your story and what you thought of the end of the line moonshine. So thank you,
Yeah,
everybody,
we would love to
for
hear from you.
another trip to Brushy. Hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. And thank you again, Woo, for another amazing story. As always, we love your adventures that always come
Yay!
up. And we will see everybody next week for another amazing adventure that we have coming up on The Haunting Truth. So we appreciate it. And we will see everybody later. But as always, don't drink the water.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, it's cool mountain water, but I don't. It's probably cold
Yeah, I
or
don't know
something.
about
I
the
don't know. I would.
sloosh situation there. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
No, hard pass, hard pass.
yeah, just pass. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Until next week.
All right. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.